So, welcome to Black Hippie Lounge. I'm your host, Chanel. And today's episode is going to be slightly freestyle, kind of. I am going to read off of something, but I'm kind of just going off of a message that I saw. Um, that kind of came, that just, I came across of it and came across it. And in the midst of just trying to stay consistent with episodes and trying to think of something to talk about, I just concluded that I would just go off this message. But before that, can't really think of any housekeeping things. I would say just if you haven't already, subscribe to my podcast. I have a YouTube as well that I'm working on building, like posting more episodes with video. And you can follow me on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Black Hippie Lounge. And I'm still working on my website, like trying to do that. I've been working on it in my head because I'm just not, I want to, like, I have it in my head of how I want it to be, but it's hard. It's not easy to like put that together, plus trying to do other things. And I'm just still figuring out and researching how I want to go about doing that. So, again, if anybody knows how to build websites, please reach out to me because I would really appreciate the help. Or if you know anybody who can do that, then please send them my way. And so yeah, today is a Sunday reset. I feel like Sundays have been really, I've been trying to reset on Sundays. I have some things that I have to do this week. And a lot of that is going to be kind of tied to what I'm going to talk about, but it's going to be really for me just trusting the flow of life. This year 2023 has definitely been teaching me that, because I feel like I've talked about it in my podcast, but this year I really had to live it again. And I feel like I started the podcast 2020, and 2019, I've talked about it before, it was just a really tough year for me. And this year has felt similar to that for me, but just in a different aspect. And I feel like this year kind of was, I don't know if I would say a fully test, but it was definitely like a way for me to see if I've grown and learned from 2019, just because of similar situations have occurred and how I've been handling them versus how I handled it in 2019 when I was really, again, like I've talked about it before, like that was the beginning of my spiritual awakening and just being put into situations and being pushed to grow as a woman, and really not just grow but define who I am. And I think that if you're like me, or you're thinking about doing that, like, give yourself a lot of credit and a pat on the back, because it takes a lot of courage to define yourself and not be influenced by society, and like it takes a lot to define who you are and not let society, family, friends, or just outside influences impact that. And not only to define who you are, but to stand in that and grow in that and continue to allow yourself to just be. I think that I know I see a lot this year, like post about standing on business and like being about what you say, and it's easy to say that, but it's not easy to always do that when you are faced with a lot of obstacles in life that test you. Because I feel like a lot of the times, I know from my experience, like once I declare out loud verbally like, oh, I'm gonna grow, or I want to grow, or I want to be a better woman, or I'm ready to get to that next level. Like before you get to that level, I feel like you are gonna face a lot of challenges and things that are sent to break you. Because it's really trying to see if you're really about that life. And it takes a lot to define. I think that you know, just being about it, like, it doesn't have to be in a violent way. It's really just being like, no matter what is coming your way, like, are you still, okay, example, like if you say, I want to be like for me, I'll use myself as an example. Like I said, I wanted to go to school, to grad school, and because my root of that was just being a black woman in healthcare, and um not even working in healthcare, not even before I started working in healthcare. I would say just going to the doctor, and like, these are, again, this is my personal experience, and just feeling like I'm coming across a lot of medical professionals that don't look like me, who are having a hard time or not putting in the effort to understand what I'm going through and what my body is going through, and just being able to even teach me different ways of how to deal with certain things, and instead just kind of being pushed to the side. And that kind of influenced me to want to go back to school, to go to grad school, to get my master's in healthcare administration, so that I could be able to work and open a clinic that is not necessarily just, oh, it's only going to be black and brown patients, but more so creating a safe space for black and brown patients, as particularly women who, there are some things that just race wise tend to impact black and brown women way more than other women. And so like, for example, fibroids and cysts and PCOS, and those are like common things that a lot of black and brown women face. And a lot of medical professionals are just not skilled or not well knowledge in it to be able to like give different alternatives to care. I think that a lot of times you can look for yourself, research online, or talk to, if you go online and just look it up, and like a lot of the times the resolution is always just like a hysterectomy, or just like to completely, in a sense, take away a woman's womanhood, right? Because your womb, that is like the thing that makes you part of being a woman. And so a lot of the times there's no other forms of care that are being put into helping women that are facing that. And that's very discouraging, especially for young women like myself, who we're still pretty young. Like, and it doesn't matter if you're young, because you can nowadays, like, people having kids later in life too. But if that's something that you desire, like, that's a scary thing to face. Like, okay, being, say, your desire to have children one day, and you're only in your 20s, and you're being told that you have a medical condition that will potentially prevent that or cause more problems for you to be able to do it. And so and the only thing that they really have for a solution is surgery, that could potentially, if it doesn't go right, could prevent you from permanently being able to have children the natural way. And so that's a scary thing to deal with. And that's something that I dealt with in my like mid-20s, early mid-20s. And I would say, especially the past couple of years, just really taking the time to take healthcare into my healthcare into my own hands, and do a lot of research. I've done a lot of like herbal, um I don't know if I say medicine, but just definitely getting into more herbs and like natural remedies. And I had the episode where I had my friend Vlad on here and talking about sea moss, and exploring what sea moss is. I feel like sea moss has definitely made a great impact in my health. And not just sea moss, but just like, I feel like when I started taking sea moss, then I found out about other herbs and other supplements that I could take that help not just for reproductive system, but just my whole body in general. And I've seen the difference, like physically, and I felt it. I'm feeling it, So yeah, just I'm not really sure why I went on this tangent about, oh yeah, I was saying why I started the podcast, right? Because just wanting to create, like, to share the things that I've found. And um the point of this rant, I'm sorry, was because of this episode, and like how 2023 has kind of done a full circle of me being able to stand on business and stand on what I say, that who I am, and being able to define that, and still going through that. I'm in my 30s, and I'm still, defining that, and that's okay. You're always going to be, if you're a person who's growing, you're always going to be redefining yourself. And 2023 has definitely taught me that, like, you will have an idea of what you want your life to be, there's an idea of what you want your life to be, and then there's the actual destiny of your life. And our job here on earth is to try to combine those two, right? And I think that when you're more in tune with yourself, you talking to God, you're like praying, and you're trying to live by faith, then you will be able to mesh the two. And yeah, 2023 has definitely been teaching me that. Like, there's been a lot of surrendering, a lot of releasing, a lot of just going with it versus trying to figure everything out. And for me, that trying to figure everything out is rooted in anxiety, which is rooted in just um different experiences that I've had in life that have influenced me to have anxiety. And so I'll talk about that in another episode, like anxiety and stuff. I really want to do an episode on anxiety, but I want to have someone as a guest who has anxiety to talk about it. And I have someone in mind. He knows who he is, but I have to schedule for him to interview with me so that we can talk about it. But in the meantime, like, um, yeah, anxiety is something that I definitely have dealt with. And there's plenty of other people too, I'm sure, even people who are listening who have dealt with it. And so yeah, I think that this year has just definitely been a lot of lessons and a lot of releasing and just a lot of redefining myself and redefining what the path that I want for myself and how to go about doing so. So before I get into it, I have got to find the post that I was going to talk about. It was actually a horoscope, not a heart. Well, yeah, it is a horoscope, but it was for me. Oh, so yeah, it was just something that I came across. Okay, so it says, so I'm. This is for me. This was actually from like October, but it says you don't have to see the end of the finish line to know it's there, Virgo. For most of the race, all we see is distance and what's directly in front of us. Stay the course, even if you're not feeling as motivated or hopeful right now. Do what you can, what's in front of you, even if it seems like small progress compared to what you want to achieve. The baby steps you are taking now are exactly the steps you're supposed to be taking. Stay consistent. And so for me, I felt like the part about staying consistent stuck out, and just baby steps, and like I was saying a little bit earlier, just like going with the flow and trying to understand and let your life be the way it's supposed to be. Because at the end of the day, like, you hear it like sometimes, like, don't resist, right? Don't resist what God is trying to do in your life or the way your life is going. But at the same time, you can't just lay there like and do nothing either. Like, you have to find that balance of putting in work um to reach your goals, but also understanding that like you only have so much control over your life. And the other part is just learning how to put in your work, but also let your work speak for itself, in the sense of like you do your part and then let um your higher self in the spirit world like do the rest, right? And in that is sometimes it takes time. You have to learn how to figure out how to even do that. It's not something that you kind of just like one and done typically. So and sometimes like we do, like, you have a vision of what the finish line is for yourself, whether that be like, for me it would be right now it's getting my job that I really want, like getting a role that really fits me and that would make me happy, and not just happily financially, but also just like being able to continue my work and grow, and provides me with comfort and growth and just various things that I'm looking for in a role. But also just being able to be patient and wait for that to come. And um, even though I see the finish line, like, don't get discouraged along the way when there are certain obstacles that come your way that, I wouldn't say prevent you from getting to the finish line, but slow you down. And just because you slow down doesn't mean you don't stay the course. Sometimes some things come in your life or come in your way as a form of obstacles to slow you down, because there are still some lessons that you need to learn along the way before you get the finish line. And sometimes it's just not the time for you to hit the finish line. Everything is in divine timing. So when something is for you, it'll be for you at that time. There will be no force that can stop that. Not you can't even stop that. So rather than focusing on running and sprinting to the finish line, focus on trying to just do your baby steps and make sure that your steps are the best effort, right? And putting your best foot forward, and make sure you're doing that your 100%, your best effort and your best work along the way. And just being consistent with that. It's not easy. Like even for this podcast, like for me to be consistent, sometimes it's not easy because I get lazy, or I get tired, or I feel like I don't want to talk about the same things, or just having other things on my list of things that I want to do. But I said to myself that this year I wanted to be consistent. There were a lot of goals that I had set for myself this year that I have to be consistent with. And so I feel like sometimes it's November, and sometimes this is the time when it's the worst, I feel, for being consistent with your goals, because it is somewhat at the finish line, right? Because the end of the year is the end of 2023 is December 31st, right? The end of December. And so we are practically about to be at Thanksgiving. November is flying by too. So my point with that is, like, sometimes I feel like this can be a time, it's a make or break time, I think, because could be a time where you might, because I did this a couple of days ago, like you will think back on the goals that you set for this year, and some goals maybe you didn't accomplish. And so you can kind of get in that space of like, either you're going to say, I'm still going to try to do what I can to stay consistent with those goals and complete them, or am I just going to let it go? Or are you just going to carry them on with you to the next year? Because I feel like sometimes too, like, it's important to remember that just because it didn't happen this year doesn't mean it can't happen next year or ever. Maybe in your mind and in your heart, your spirit, you wanted those things to happen, but this wasn't the year for that because of other certain circumstances that have occurred, or it's just not in the right timing. And so that still doesn't stray away from you being consistent with yourself and your goals and your efforts, and trying to get the things that you want out of life. And just kind of diverting to that, like what I just said, like getting what you want out of life, I think it's very important, because you don't know how long you will be here. Actually, I had just found out yesterday that I lost one of my cousins has passed, and we grew up together. He was the same age as me, so, well, he was like a couple months older than me, but again, like, that's just another reminder of, like, life is short, and we don't know how much time you have here. So just making sure you find that balance of, like, taking care of yourself and having fun and enjoying your life, but also trying to fulfill your goals here on earth, and your purpose, and taking the most that you can out of life is very important. I think that we have to remember every day that life is a gift. When you wake up, even if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, like you wake up having a bad day, like, you have to still be grateful that you have life. And I think that sometimes it's not easy doing that. Like, we get caught up in our ego, and you having a bad day, or somebody might make you mad, or things don't go your way. But that's another thing, is like, sometimes things not going your way is a good thing, because if something's not going your way in your life, like the way you have planned, it's for a reason. And it's a time for you to stop and rejoice, because more than likely, if it went your way, it could potentially bring you harm. Again, like, I'm a firm believer that things happen when, how, where, why, all for a reason. And it's something that we can't control, and we don't even sometimes fully understand, but that's just the way of the world. And that's just the way of this thing called life. Like, it has a way of unfolding the way that it's supposed to. and it's our job to allow it to unfold and try to learn along the way. Give yourself grace, give others grace, practice humility, practice love, practice just standing on business, standing on what you believe in, standing on you know, fighting for your people, fighting for yourself, and being able to just enjoy it, right? Because like I said, like death is something that is unavoidable, and I think it's a time to really reflect and um just for it to even happen along this time where it is close to the end of the year, and um it's a time to again like step back and think, and yeah, it's a tough time. um like I said, just losing someone is not easy, and so especially when it's family, and it just makes you, for me, I know for me, like when this happens, it always makes me think like, all right, like am I putting in the work that I need to put in for the relationships that I have, family, friends, stuff like that, because life is short. And so um yeah, like I said, this episode is based off of the quote and stuff that I read, but it's kind of a little bit of just like a freestyle too. So um yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I really wanted to talk about from that besides just um I did, if you follow me on TikTok, you will see that I had posted a video about rest. Um and I feel like that kind of relates to this, like staying the course even if you're not feeling as motivated or hopeful right now. And I feel like for me, what I've learned this year is like when I get in that space of not feeling hopeful or motivated, I rest now versus before. My anxiety in those types of situations would force me to, or put me in a space where I feel like I had to put in more work and I had to overwork myself or stress myself more because I'm like, oh, it's not working. So maybe I got to do this way, or I got to do, like, trying to just fix something that maybe doesn't need to be fixed. It's just the way it's supposed to be. Versus now, like, especially when it comes to this job stuff, like applying for jobs and um sometimes just going through a series of like applying, getting no response, not even an interview, or getting an interview and it dragging out, or getting an interview and not being selected, and being able to rest when that happens, right? Not feel like, okay, I didn't get that job, like now I have to, like, before, in the beginning when all this was happening, like when I didn't get the first job that I had interviewed for in North Carolina, it put me in a space where I was like, okay, I gotta go harder. I gotta go harder. Like I started applying to mad jobs. And when I was applying for those jobs, some of those jobs didn't even make any sense. Like I was just like, I have to find something, because I was in that ego space of like, I have to find something to define me, and like I'm supposed to be working, and like that's who I am. And now I'm sitting here laughing because I'm like, now I'm like, yo, I've gotten so used to not working, like I don't even know if I could go back into that. Like I want the money, I want to be able to take care of myself, but I've really this is like a full circle moment. Like this year was a year of rest for me. I was forced to rest because I've been really living life day by day, and I haven't had to have plan anything really ahead as much. I've been able to kind of just do things my way, and I've been able to accomplish a lot of goals within this year too, and grow my business and just grow myself. So that's a part of, I feel like, being consistent, like not letting my situation take control of me, and still being able to be consistent in the goals that I have, and so, and acting upon those goals. So I hope this episode wasn't all over the place, because again, I didn't have any notes. I really just went off top of the dome, but I felt like it was an interesting thing to talk about. It's kind of therapeutic for me to talk about. um but also just being able to be transparent. I'm really trying to be as transparent with this episode as I can with you guys, the listeners, while also still remaining having some privacy. I've always been like a I guess a little bit of a private person, or more so just like a down to earth, like really chill, not all out there kind of person. But at the same time, I feel like as I've grown, like I said, as a woman, I've become a little bit more out there, and just more willing to share things, which influenced me to start the podcast and to share the things that I share on the podcast. And I want to continue to do so. And even sharing something like the passing of a family member is very personal, but it's also it's a part of life, and it's a part of like spiritual growth too, like being able to share that and reflect on how to deal with situations like that, because it's not just me going through it, it's a lot of people going through that. And hopefully just being a source of help for others. And for the towards the end of this year and going into next year, for sure I want to start doing more, again, like more personal topics, discussing dating experiences and stuff. That's really, honestly, I can't really share dating experiences because I haven't really been dating, because it's just, yeah, it's so many other things that are on my plate right now. And again, like kind of circling back, like all that stuff will fall into place at the right time. So, and learning to be able to be okay with that is important also, not just for dating, but just life, like with finding the job, with whatever it is, that a goal that you have. Like, again, you only can do so much on your end, and you have to trust the process. You have to trust the story of your life, that is still going to come to be at the right time, and you'll appreciate it more. Someone told me that I reached out to for advice. So I appreciate him for sharing that with me. That was Vlad, actually, who told me that. And again, just I've said it before, like, please don't hesitate as a listener to reach out to me, to ask me for advice, or to ask a question or anything like that. I will be happy, to help if I can. That's what I'm here for. That's what we are here for as a community, to like help each other. So please, especially in times like today, like, don't hesitate to reach out to me, to ask for help or ask for advice, or just to kind of vent to an extent. um but yeah, I hope that everyone is having a great Sunday. I'm having a decent Sunday. I don't know if anybody else participates in it, but this year I joined a fantasy football league. My brother got me into that, so I've been really trying to do my thing with that. In the beginning, I really wasn't, but now I'm like, all right, like, it's money on the line, and I'm a competitor. I want to win. So I really been putting in work, getting my team together. So I'm going to keep going with that. And if anybody else is doing that, then, hit me up. Let me know how you're doing with your team in your league. But yeah, it's a decent Sunday here. It's kind of cool, but it's sunny out. So get some fresh air, enjoy life. I think that this weekend has taught me, not necessarily taught me, but reminded me, like, you got to enjoy life no matter what it's looking like. You got to get out and make the most of what you have, the time that you have. Repair those relationships. Don't be afraid to start new relationships. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and start new. So I love you guys. I hope you have a great start to your week. As always, again, like I said, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. Just hit the little follow button. I think if you listen on Spotify, you could just press follow. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you press, I think, follow as well, or subscribe. Any other thing that you listen, there's like 6 platforms that I have. Just follow me. You know what I'm saying? Just follow the kid. Okay. And definitely on Instagram, TikTok, follow me at Black Hippie Lounge. I'm on Facebook as well. At Black Hippie Lounge. I believe. It's either Black Hippie Lounge or it's Chanel on Facebook. I really don't know because I'm not a Facebook person, but I just made one just to because I'm supposed to have like these various forms of ways to connect with people. But TikTok, Instagram, that's my thing. That's easier for me. So it's at Black Hippie Lounge. Um, and as always, meditate, manifest, invest in you, take care of you, and love you, and be well.